5 minutes to.
Okay, we're live now. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Godwins, and I'm so glad to be with you today again on What's on Your Mind Leadership Zone. And I'm today with one of the men that I've seen, known for a very long time, who I consider a veteran in the field of leadership. And I'm so comfortable to bring in today Apostle Leke Akingboye. And of course, I'm dealing with a subject um, of exploring the power of true leadership. And it's going to be an open conversation. So Apostle will pick up whatsoever I want to discuss on the subject of leadership. All right. So first, I want to say, Apostle, I'm so sorry that this conversation is coming up not in your office. I know that I must have met you somewhere that you just have to hop on this call and let us do this today. God bless you so well, sir.
That
So,
question.
so everyone, I am with Apostle Leke Akingboye, like I said, and the subject we are discussing today borders on the issue of leadership. And I'm so passionate about that subject. Myself, I've done training in that field, and I've also done some publications in the field of leadership. But I'm so grateful to have Apostle with me today, and I'd like us to have this conversation. Thank you so much, Apostle. Let's pick it up.
It's a pleasure to be here with you, Dr. Godwin. I want to thank God for your life, for the things that God is using you to do in the body of Christ and in the academic world. You've been a leadership professional for many years, touching lives and building leadership within the body of Christ and outside the body. So I want to thank God for you, for the grace and the mercy of God upon your life. For me, the issue of leadership, it's a passionate thing for me because of the fact that I do know as a fact that everything falls and rises on leadership, just as John Maxwell said, that everything rises and falls on leadership. And so, when we talk about leadership, we're talking about the heartbeat of every organization, every society, the church, and outside the church. Once you have to do with human being, you have to deal with the issue of leadership. Once you have to deal with human being, you have to deal with the issue of leadership. Now, because John Maxwell said leadership is influence, and it's all about people. Leadership is about people. Now, I know that there are various concepts on this matter of leadership, but it is important to know that whatever concept or definition or branch of leadership that we may be coming from or looking at, once we have to deal with human being, once we have to deal with making changes in the society, once we have to deal with influencing people, once we have to deal with um, transforming a society, transforming human being, once you have to deal with making people realize who they are and what they can be and how they can be their best, you have to deal with the issue of leadership, both in national development, church development, any area of life. Leadership is at it's at the bedrock of every development of our society. So it's a pleasure to be here with you, Dr. Godwin, to discuss leadership. Thank you.
Yeah, Apostle, where you talked about this concept of the influence, leadership being influence. Now, there's been a debate like this before, whether positive or negative, influence is influence. So, does
That's
influence
right.
classify a person as either a bad leader or a good leader? Because somebody can be very influential negatively. Do we still call that person a leader, or we just categorize the person as a bad leader, or just a leader generally?
Yeah, thank you. I've also traded these thoughts before, but I do know that if we are to discuss academically, we will have to um, agree with the fact that leadership is influence, whether positive influence or negative influence. For example, Adolf Hitler was an influence, and he moved people into actions against um, a generation of people. He caused evil. He did what was not appropriate, but that was leadership in the sense that he was able to influence people. So we will not be able to say that is not leadership. The only difference is the fact that his leadership was for an evil intention. His leadership was not for positive purpose. All right, but that is leadership. He was able to influence people. And so the other way around, we also have people that have influenced society positively and they have moved people forward. They have caused changes positively. And so it's also leadership. Today we still have people that are influencing people in the negative way. For example, the global terrorist groups that we have in the world today, those men that are in charge of their lives, who are influencing them to take decisions that are inimical to society, they are leaders, but they are bad leaders. But that is leadership. It's about influencing people to achieving a common goal or a purpose. And so we won't be able to say they are not leaders. They are leaders, except for the fact that they are leading people wrongly. But in true fact, if we are to look at it from academic point of view, it's all about leadership. But what we want is positive change, not the negative one. What we want is to have people making society to move forward, people transform people's lives, influence people towards the right cause. And that is the one that we are promoting as leadership, being influenced. But the truth is that whoever influences you is leading you, whether rightly or wrongly. Whoever is influencing you is leading you. And that's why leadership does not begin from position. Okay, that's another aspect anyway, because there are people that may not occupy position in an organization, and they are the one influencing others. They are the one causing the right changes, and the other person is just the head. Because there's a difference between being a head and being a leader. You can be a head and not a leader. All right, and so, but the truth is the fact that someone who is influencing somebody else into a course of action is a leader. What we should now look at and plead for is how that person can be probably be influenced by the right leaders to ensure that he influences people in the right cause. But that person is a leader, but a bad leader, an evil leader, a negative leader. For example, for you to have told people to blow up themselves in a suicide mission, no, that is a very powerful leadership influence. To have compelled people, organize people, and speak to them, motivate them, encourage them to the point of going to die for a cause. That person or those persons who are able to galvanize this kind of people are leaders, but they are bad leaders. They are not the kind of leader we named. But that simply defines the fact that leadership is influence, but the influence has to be positive for the good of society. Right.
This definition you made, sir, presupposes the fact that everybody is a leader. That is what it looks like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Can you push that further?
Everybody is
Because I've
supposed to
seen
be, let me say that everybody is supposed to be a leader by that definition. Everybody is supposed to be a leader. Now, why do I change it to supposed to be a leader? Because there are also people that are not influencing people. There are people that on their own, they are not influencing people. Okay. And even when they make attempts to influence people, they are not able to influence people. Of course, there are people that have also tried to influence people. They have not been able to successfully influence people towards a course of action, whether for a good cause or for a bad cause. Right? But everybody can be a leader. Let me put it that way. Everybody is supposed to be a leader. Everybody can be a leader. Now, what do I mean by that? Like I was trying to differentiate between headship and leadership. Okay, that there is a difference between headship and leadership. In an organization, the person who is appointed as the CEO or a head of a department is the head, but he may not be the leader. All right, because he may not be the one influencing the changes. He may not be the one influencing the right changes in that system. Okay, so he may not possess the leadership quality of influencing people, because influencing people and causing the changes, causing changes, they are the two things when John Maxwell looked at leadership as influence, when I looked at leadership, I saw beyond John Maxwell's discussion on leadership as influence. I saw that leadership is both influence and causing changes. Causing changes, right? And this time around, because we are looking at leadership from the positive point of view, it's about causing the right changes. The right changes. And so, if you combine what John Maxwell said about influence with what I said about causing the right changes, then you can safely look at leadership as the ability to influence people and to cause the right changes. The right changes. All right. That is what everybody is supposed to be. Now, so if everybody understands that, then you will realize the fact that you may not be the head in the system, but you are influencing changes. If you look at political systems, political structure, for example, we call some people cabal in some administration, and whereby you have the head in that government. Who is the head? Because of cabal. This cabal, they wield so much influence to the point that the president of the nation, or the governor of the state, or the head of that political structure may not be the one influencing the changes, whether right changes or negative changes, but the cabals, the people that are the kitchen cabinet, will be the one influencing the changes. And then that is why we will see those people as the leaders, why the governor, the president, will be seen as the head, but not the leader. But it will be a fantastic thing if the head of a system, the head of an organization, is both a leader as he is the head of that system. That will make a fantastic um, productivity in any organization, both in the church and outside the church.
There's a dimension you brought to this, and I want to amplify that a little. And that is very important for me. It means that the end goal of influence is change.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So and I think that needs a sufficient amplification. The end goal of influence, in other words, the end goal of leadership is change. It's not to get into leadership position, whether politics or public service or religious organization, and just maintain the status quo the way it is.
Yeah.
You have to bring in a form of change, and that change has to be done in such a way that it is positive and not negative. And something that occurs to me again from the process of what you define, it's important that the leader becomes intentional. The leader becomes intentional because change has to be done deliberately. And then we start talking about the process of change management. I want to bring up this and I want you to respond to this. I've seen people got into a position, and as soon as they got there, they want to change the whole thing. They become so radical in the process of bringing the change in such a way that they start stepping on the toes of people and destroy even the organizational structure they met on ground. So if I want to ask, if I want to say, if the end goal of leadership of influence is positive change, how best will you prescribe that we marry influence and change together so that we are able to achieve the purpose of the change that is the goal of influence and leadership and positive change for that matter?
Thank you, Dr. Godwins. Now, like I did say, that leadership is influence to produce the right changes. Now, because if we don't see changes, we won't be able to measure the outcome of leadership. If we are going to successfully measure the outcome of any leadership, it will be measured on the scale of changes that we are able to see and the right changes this time around. But there is no doubt that human nature resists changes sometimes, and that's why some in politics are not able to be drastic to bring about certain progress in the society or in the people they lead in their nation or in their state, because sometimes um, they fear the people uh, um, in terms of the resistance of the people to change. They fear the people now, but one of the hallmark of leadership is the fact that if you are going to make changes, the first thing is that it must be changes that will make life better for the people. Now, once that change is going to make life better for the people, then you will have a clear conscience to pursue it and influence the system to bring about such changes. And sometimes one of the reasons, sometimes some leaders, when they're even trying to introduce changes, when they have to influence changes, they do it in a way that eventually they create some negative perception against themselves in terms of creating the changes that they want to bring about. They end up creating negative perception because they do not know how to manage the process that lead to change. Because when you are trying to introduce a thing that will bring about change in society, you know it's not going to be an autocratic work. You have to be intentional, like you said, and then the leader has to do so much more of buying in of the people. You must ensure that there is a lot of buying in from the people, so that when you are introducing the changes, because that's part of influence. If you cannot influence the people, then you have a
Yes,
lot of buying into what
yes.
you want to do, there will be little resistance to the change that you are bringing. But if you don't allow buying through consultation, negotiation, engagement, interactions, and ensuring there's a lot of conversation around the change. Now, for example, maybe a governor wants to ensure that we have better road networks in the states, and he does not engage the people. And those road networks you want to embark on in the states, you're going to destroy a lot of properties of people. And some people have just developed their properties and they are just trying to catch out on the economic gain of their investment. But overriding public interest will come in, and you want to bring about some changes in the society, in the urban development of society. And so you're going to have issues with the people. They might resist it. For example, people trade along the roadside in our various communities. All right, people trade on the roadside. They trade on the roadside. They display their markets along the road, almost obstructing traffic in many parts of this part of the world. Now, if you don't understand and you want to make a change, you don't try to look like that. You want a decent and well organized market system and better, good looking environment for the society. Now, such a change, you will need to engage people. You need to create alternative for people. You need to create options for people before you go ahead to start moving them from the street. Now, for you to just go wake up in the morning and then use task force and move people out of the streets and chase them away from the street, even though we know that it's not supposed to be so, but you need to look at the fact that this is the economic livelihood of these people. So in managing change as a leader, you need to engage people. You need to uh, create options for people, alternative for people, so that by the time you are introducing changes, your change will have got a lot of buy-in, so that nobody will create a negative perception for you. Because one of the things that many leaders are afraid of is negative perception. And because perception defines anything about you as a leader, whether you are good or bad, once they have this particular view about you, it becomes who you are to them. And so, as a leader, you want to ensure that you don't have the negative perception. And so, you engage people, you dialogue with people, you get a lot of buying into whatever you want to do. In such way, you have to create the change you want to create in society. Yeah.
Now you taking this broader to political setting. And sincerely, I want somebody to hear this because this is very important. I've seen people who got into an organization as the head of a unit and they disrupt the process because they want to bring out a change. You understand what I'm saying, sir? So you have taken it to a very large scope, which is where people can easily see that, which is very right, what you have done. I just want to bring it down a little bit again so that somebody will understand this. For example, what Apostle is saying is very, very clear, and it's one of the things I've said over the years. Somebody, and I'm grateful that you went to this. I'm sincerely grateful that you went to this. There's something you have said today that I have not seen, I've not combined the two before. And I'm going to say the truth. I have seen the people talked about influence as one of the basis of leadership, but the way you have married leadership and change is so important for me as a person. The purpose of leadership is to bring out something good in an organization. So you get there, you begin to look for how do I increase the capacity of this organization to deliver on its objectives, to deliver on its visions, to deliver on its mission. Very clear. And I really appreciate you for that because I have not married the two together before, even though I know that these are important pillars in leadership. But something you said that I want somebody who's on this call today, and somebody who's going to see these videos in this video in the years to come, to remember is when you are just made the head of an organization, maybe a unit in a department, you don't get to that department and want to assert your authority. Am I correct, Apostle? You don't get to
That's
that
correct.
department and try
That's
to
right.
assert your authority, let somebody know that a new sheriff is in town who will shake this
Yeah.
place. In the process of doing that, people can frustrate you and destroy your
Yeah.
effectiveness, even in that place. And Apostle
That's
talked
right.
about the Father. You have to begin to think about how to make the people buy into the vision that you are bringing. Because at the end of the day, you cannot succeed in leadership in isolation. You can't do it by yourself. You need the buy-in of the people. So what you are saying, sir, for somebody who's hearing this now is you have just been made the head of a unit. You don't get to that unit and want to scatter everywhere. The first thing is sell yourself to the people. Let the people buy into your person. After they are bought into your person, it's more easier for you to set your own vision for
Yeah.
growth and development to the people in the organization. I want to say, Apostle, you broke into something that's so important for me today because I've seen people who are radicals, who feel that let's turn this place upside down. Right? Let us show them that we are the new people in town. So please, all change makers, let people buy into you and then let them buy,
Mm.
and then it's more easier for them to buy into your vision. So that's what Apostle has said. Why I tried to calm
That's
down a little because it took me high. It took me high in that conversation, okay? Because it's actually easier for us to relate with political issues. Yeah,
yeah.
actually easier
Yeah.
to relate to political issues. And Apostle has said something today, and I am grateful to God for that and what he has said, which is the place of influence as amplified by the person of John Maxwell. Where you are, what kind of influence are you having on the people that are under your leadership? When you go, when you leave that organization. So let me stop here. Let me say this, Apostle. When I wrote my first book on leadership, which is Invitation to Great Leadership, what I came up with a definition of leadership. And I said that leadership is the ability to use the talent, the time, and the treasure of the followers. Use their talent, their time, and their treasure without destroying their capacity for self fulfillment, self actualization, and self development. In other words, I believe that the leader uses people. As a leader, you are going to be using people. But while you are using them, you do not destroy their capacity
That's right.
for self fulfillment, self actualization, and self development. Okay, let me say that definition again. I think I missed something from there. Leadership is the ability to use the talent, the time, and the treasure of the followers to achieve an organizational goal or the personal goal of the leader without destroying the followers' capacity for self fulfillment, self actualization, and self development. How do we address leaders that get into position and then they want to use people that are working with them Why using these people? They want to destroy these people's personal capacity for self-fulfillment. How do we speak to that? Because I believe that everybody that is working for you has a goal that he or she wants to achieve for himself.
That's right.
So,
That's
and
right.
I usually say that while you are using this person, don't destroy this person's capacity for self-fulfillment. Don't destroy
That's
this
right.
person's capacity for self-actualization and self-development. I want us to address leaders that use people and destroy them.
Thank you, Dr. Godwins, for this perspective. I hope I'm loud and clear.
Very, very well, sir. I can hear you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Godwins, for this perspective you have brought into this discussion, this conversation about on leadership. Now, the truth is this: you are very correct with that proposition. The leadership is the ability to use people's talent, their time, their treasure for organizational goal without destroying the potential of the
Yeah.
people, personal aspiration of the people, because you don't succeed in isolation. You work with people. You work with people. You succeed in association, not in isolation. Now, if you are a good leader, this time around, if you are a good leader, one of your goals, it's about how people can be like you, how people can be successful, how people can be what they want to be, because leadership is about people. First, it's about people. When you, as a matter of fact, when a leader is very much interested in the personal well-being of the people that he is working with, then you have a higher chance of the people's productivity for the goals that you have set or the objective you are pursuing in your leadership. Once you have the people's well-being as a priority, and you won't have to beg for the loyalty of such people. You won't have to beg for the commitment of such people. Now, I have a definition, I have a description that I will explain about commitment of people. Now, there is what I call borrowed commitment. There is what I call negotiated commitment. There is what I call relinquished commitment. Now, borrowed commitment is a commitment that people give to you as a leader, not because you own that commitment. They just give it to you because you are the boss. Now, when people have to honor you, be loyal to you, be obedient to you because of your office, then you are not a good leader. The commitment of people, the honor and the values you carry as a leader before people should not be just because of the office you occupy. It should be because of your personality, your goodwill, your character. Now, of course, automatically once you occupy an office, you carry the authority of that office. But your authority should not flow from your office. It should flow from your life, from your personality. Because a lot of time when people leave office, they don't have influence again outside office. They, because the authority they've enjoyed has only been the authority of the office, not the authority of their person. All right. I remember that great leader like Nelson Mandela of South Africa. If when Nelson Mandela had left office, when he ruled, when he reigned for his first time in office and he left, even when he was no longer a South Africa president, whatever view that Nelson Mandela offers on public discourse will supersede that of the president on the seat, on the throne. At that time, he was alive. And he was no longer in the office. But because his authority was not derived from that office, but from his personality, a lot of leaders, once they leave office, they don't have the authority anymore. And so when you have this commitment people give to you because of your office, it is a borrowed commitment. That is, you don't own it, you borrow it. And it's, as long as in the office, they are bound to have that commitment because they don't want to be fired. They don't want to be disciplined. They don't want their performance rating to be low. All right. So they have to do everything to see that they try to patch up. But see, the greatest part of commitment is relinquished commitment. Relinquished commitment is a commitment that people give willingly, freely, excitedly. And that happens when you make impact on people. That happens when you touch their lives. That happens when you are good to the people. That happens when you are kind to the people. That happens when you touch their lives. Okay. So when you are a leader and you are able to touch people's life, then you end up becoming uh, is you end up becoming a kind among many in leadership. And so, as a leader, you must be very much interested in the fact that people are not just following you, they are not just obeying you, they are not just um, loyal to you because of your office. It must be because of who you are, and who you are now is a function of your of how you have um, uh, impacted their lives, how you have added them as part of the people that will profit from the system. Okay, that's why there must be a lot of benefits that people must know they will earn. There must be opportunity for them to develop their career. If they are working with you, you must have a system for them to grow. If they want to do further studies, let the system make room for them to grow. Okay, if somebody wants to do if he wants to increase his academic competency, let the system allows him or her to be able to make academic progress. It's very important because people will have to remain loyal once they know that this place is not only that we are working towards the growth of the organization, but that our well-being is taken care of. So the commitment you will get as a leader will be a relinquished commitment and not a borrowed commitment. Thank you, Dr. Godwin.
There's something you said that I didn't want to miss the other one. Sincerely, this is extremely very important for me. You talked about borrowed commitment. I think you said about three kinds of commitment, right? Borrowed, relinquished. I think that was one. What's the third one?
The third one is a negotiated commitment.
So, can you please negotiated commitment? Can you please just talk about that negotiated commitment again? Because I lost that, and I'm sure somebody will benefit from this.
Thank you, Dr. Godwin. Now, when I mean negotiated commitment, I mean commitment that people give because of rules. The rules said so, and because there are consequences, not out of a free mind, but the fear of the rules. Now, you know that a lot of time people are just a lot of people are working the system, and the rules that govern the system that carry the consequences, and so they don't want to break the rules, and so it's not convenient for them. They are not having the advancement they want, but the rules will punish them. The consequence of not following the rules is the reason why they have the commitment. So the consequence of not following the rules. But you know what? If a leader in an organization can brace up and move the system above the rules, whereby though the rules will be there, of course, there must be rules, the rules will be there, but whereby you can raise the bar, where people are no longer just committed because of the fear of the rules, not because of your office, which is the borrow commitment, but for the fact that they are happy doing what they are doing, for the fact that everything is fine, so everything is fine with them. They know that they have success here. They are being paid as at when due. There are proper motivations for them, and then they know that there is concern for them. Even when they break rules, they understand the fact that there are consequences for breaking the rules. But notwithstanding, they are not afraid I mean, or rather, they are not going to um, they are not going to back out. They still continue to pursue the vision of the organization in the course of doing their job. So when I mean by negotiated commitment, I mean the commitment that is tied to rules, whereby people have to keep the rules. The rules said so, and so you don't want to break the rules, and so you got to be very careful. And so the man is not good. The boss you are working with is not a nice man. The system is not favoring you. You're not seeing the necessary progress you have to get in. Nobody cares about you. Nobody wants to be concerned about your well-being. But You just have to keep pushing because the rule says you must do it. You must come at this time. You must get to this thing. You must get this done by this time. This is what we expect to see as a productivity level at this productivity level. And so when people are keeping to rules for fear of the rules, when things are not okay for them or good with the system, it is what I call as negotiated commitment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Apostle. I had an experience with a man some years back. I, I was teaching the university in Ogun State. I was lecturing in the school, and then I went to visit a man with my wife. It was many years ago. So while we were there in the house of this man, he wanted to sell one of his cars. He wanted to sell one of his cars, and the person that wanted to buy the car had even come with money to buy the car from him. And the driver, the personal driver, came in. I found out that this man wanted to sell the car, and the driver was very unhappy. That if you want to sell this car, why didn't you tell me? I could have bought it. So when he saw that the driver was not happy, he decided not to sell the car to the man that even brought money. He was going to sell it to the driver. Now, where I had issue is this. First, the driver was not going to pay. He didn't have the money, so he was going to be deducting the money from the salary of the driver over some months or some years. And asked him, don't you know, I asked the man, don't you know that when this driver eventually gets buy this your car, he may stop driving you because he now has a car that he has to drive by himself. And the man said to me, if buying this my car, if me selling this car to him is a proof that he's making progress in life, I will be glad to sell the car to him, even when he does not have money to pay. And he now continued. He said, if this driver haven't bought this car, decided to walk away from me, decided to walk away from me, God will provide another driver. Apostle, can you hear me very clearly, sir?
I think I'm having distortions in the audio, so I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, I'm actually hearing some cracking, so I don't know whether, but can you hear me clearly?
It's not clear, but it's cracking. I'm hearing you, but it's cracking. But it's gone. I
Okay.
think I
So,
can.
so the challenge I had was that I started thinking about this. You know, this guy is going to buy your car, he may stop driving you. Why did you still sell this car to him? And he said that if that is a son that is making a progress in life, I would rather sell the car to him, even though he doesn't have money now. And if he decides to leave me, I haven't bought my car, God will bring another person. And I remember that day, as I was driving home, I told my wife, for me, this is what it means to be a leader. That to see this guy going to make a progress, and the progress may mean that he has to disconnect from you, and you don't stop him. You even aided him to be able to do that. And if he decides to walk away, fine. I want to ask a question from that. Apostle, can you hear me, sir? Okay. Then I'm going to ask, why do you think some leaders are
The
not
network is
secure?
bad. I don't know whether you can hear me.
I can hear you. I can hear you. I can
It's
hear you.
not
So the question is, why do you think some leaders are insecure? Why are they insecure?
come again.
Yeah, why do you think some leaders are insecure? Insecure leadership.
Okay, why
Why
some
is
leaders
that a
are
problem?
insecure?
What insecure? They can't stand the progress of their followers, and they even try to block it. This network shouldn't mess up. This is very important. Also, I hope you'll be able to come back. This is freezing. It's freezing. Meanwhile, I'd like to read what this Exodus drama wrote. True leadership is just it's not just about the title a person holds, but about the life they live. A good leader should be followed and respected not just because of the position they occupy, but because of the integrity, character, and consistency they display in their personal life. Authority is most powerful when it flows from a person truly, from who a person truly is, not just from the office they sit in. People are more loyal to leaders who lead by example, not just by command. So, ladies and gentlemen, I lost Apostle Nick Akingboya. I'll be glad to get him back. And I believe we had a very instructive conversation today. For me, it's been very instructive. And that presupposes the fact that he mentioned some things I want to highlight again while I'm waiting for him to join, if he's able to. But if he's not able to join our conversation again, I'm just going to tidy up with some of the things he said, which makes a lot of sense for me. Number one, he talked about three kinds of commitment. All right, there's borrowed commitment, there's negotiated commitment, and there's relinquished commitment. All right, borrowed commitment, people are just committed to your organization or committed to you as a leader because of the position you hold. And the negotiated, people are committed because they had to, yeah, get apostle back. People are committed because of the benefit they get from the organization. And I talked about the last one, which is the relinquished commitment, which is people commit themselves to your organization because of your person. All right, Apostle, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate this. Yeah, I was talking about insecure leaders who do not only block the progress of their followers, they even try to work against it. They want to kill it. They want to commit what I call assassination of your followers, which Saul in the Bible was trying to do with David. Insecure leadership. Why do people get insecure? How do we know insecure leader? And how do we get out of being insecure as a leader?
Yeah, if you can hear me, Dr. Godwins, I think the network is not stable where I am. I don't know, but let's
Yeah, I can
see
hear you, sir.
how I can just get on with it. Now, a lot of leaders are not secure because several factors are responsible for insecurity among leadership or leaders. Number one, there are the problem with the followers too, because a lot of times so many people have misbehaved while they are following people, and so many leaders have seen misbehavior of a lot of people that have been trusted with leadership, and so they have problem of trusting people because of the misbehavior of a lot of people that are following leaders. So sometimes we won't be able to put all the blame on leadership for not being able to for this insecurity. Okay, having spoken of the fact that there are leaders who have problem with um, insi- um, insincere followers, there are also problem with leaders who have ulterior motive for leadership. You know, in delegation, you don't delegate your weaknesses. You delegate. You don't delegate your strength. Rather, you delegate your weaknesses. You don't delegate your strength. You delegate your weaknesses so that you can be productive and effective in your organization.
Whoosh. This network is going to try to create a problem today. In leadership, you don't delegate your strength, you delegate your weaknesses. You get somebody to do what you cannot do. All right, that's what Apostle Leke is talking about. You delegate not your strength, and you delegate your weakness. And you also remember there's a difference between delegation and abandonment. All right, so people abandon responsibilities to their followers and they call it delegating. That is not delegation. I hope Apostle will be able to get back to push us further in that. He was actually trying to answer the question of why do we have leaders who are not secured? And he said that insecure leaders comes in several ways. Number one, the leader could be insecure because of what he has suffered in the hands of followers before. If you have trusted followers before, and they mess up the process of the trust, they may have difficulty trusting any other person that is coming. So So insecure leaders don't just evolve from nowhere. Of course, there are some leaders that may have reason for not being secured, all right? But he's saying that for some leaders are insecure because of some of the things they have suffered in the hands of some followers before. For me, I think that is very important because truly, some leaders are insecure today because, oh, you trusted this person with your responsibility, he turns it against you. Even in cases of churches, we have had people who went to the point of changing the name of the church and carried away everything. So when the leaders are appointing another leader, another person to lead a church, it becomes extremely very careful. There are people in businesses whose money has been stolen by followers that they trusted. So they have now built system into a place, and now it looks as though they are not secure. Those are part of the conversation that Apostle Leke was pushing us into. Insecure leader will always have a reason why he or she is not secure, and the reason could be as a result of the consequence of what he has suffered in the hands of a follower that he or she trusted for. And outside that, it could be the personal life of the leader. It could be inferiority complex. That the leader may not be equipped enough in the field where he's providing leadership. So when he now sees a follower that seems to have better capacity than himself, it becomes jealous, it becomes envious, and becomes insecure. All right, So that is another reason why some leaders can become insecure. Apart from the fact that they suffer some consequences in the hands of bad followers in the past, that now they become so careful, not trying to relinquish responsibility to people, that it could also be that the leader himself has lower capacity in the area where he's providing leadership. Therefore, he becomes extremely insecure when he sees somebody who can do the work better than himself. Right? I hope to get Apostle Leke back into the console so that we can push it further in our conversation today. But I want to just remind you, we talked about the fact that leadership has to do with influence. You have to check who are you influencing and how you influencing people. What distinguishes a bad leader from a good leader is the extent to which the result of his influence impact on the people. If it is negative influence leading to destruction of life and property and things, he's still a leader, but then we say this is a bad leader. If it's a positive influence that leads to the growth of the organization, affect the lives of people positively, we say that that is a good leader. So whichever way it goes, it has to be clear that leadership has to do with influence. And there's a dimension that Apostle Leke brought into this, which is the place of your influence must lead to to change. A positive change has to happen. So when you get into an organization, you should begin to think about how do I bring about positive change to this place. And we talked about the fact that the process of bringing the change has to be done in such a way that you let people buy into yourself. When they buy into you first, then it will now become easier for them to buy into the vision. So when you become the head of a unit and you see destructions and distortion in the way the organization or the unit is being led, you don't just get there and try to change everything overnight and even start criticizing the person that was there before you. It is wrong because the person that was there before you, we have some people that believe in him or her. So when you step into his shoes and you begin to run him down, it is not unlikely that you begin to gather enemies for yourself. And those people can now frustrate the vision you're trying to bring to that unit or to that organization. So when you get into an organization, you don't shoot down your predecessor. All right. If you want to bring a change, you have to let the people you meet there buy into yourself, your person. After they have bought into your person, then they can now buy into the vision that you're giving to them. And don't forget, it is wrong for you to force vision on people. You have to sell vision to them. So you don't force visions on people. You sell it to them. You market the vision to them. You let them see the reasons why they should be part of something that is big, that is great. Ladies and gentlemen, today it's been a very wonderful conversation. I want to encourage you. If you found something very helpful in this conversation today, please drop your comment. I think I read this comment the other time, and I think this one captures a lot of things. True leadership is not just about the title a person holds. So it's not just that you have a title. all right, but about the life they live. A good leader should be followed and respected not just because of the position they occupy, but because of the integrity, the character, and the consistency they display in their personal life. Authority is most powerful when it flows from those from who a person truly is, not just from the office they sit in. People are more loyal to leaders who lead by example, not just by command. I find this to be extremely very important in this conversation today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure whether I have my book here. Um, I would have loved you to see something that can bless you. If you have access to Amazon, I have a book on Amazon titled Invitation to Great Leadership. That is going to help you a lot as a leader. Before I shut down today, I'm going to try again to bring Apostle back to this conversation. Today we have this conversation. He's actually out of his office, so we couldn't get a very serene place and a serene place and also serene network for us to be able to successfully have a hitch-free conversation today. But whichever way, he's going to come back again. Yeah, he's gonna come back again. So I've seen a positive conversation here. So sorry, the network went berserk. The network went so bad. Don't forget that there's a difference between leadership, leadership, um, um, influence. All right, people follow you because they have to follow you. There's a difference between people follow you because they have to follow you, and people follow you because they want to follow you. There are leaders that people follow them because they have to follow them. They have to follow them because of their titles. They have to follow them because they are the one paying the bill, so they have to follow them. But there is also a leadership style where people are willing to follow. So don't be a leader that people have to follow. Be a leader that people are willing to follow. My name is Godwins. I'm so glad to have you on this conversation today on Leadership Zone, exploring the power of true leadership. On Saturday again, we'll be back. I don't know, we'll be back on Saturday again, and we'll be discussing some of these things. God bless you for coming today. And like I said, if you see this comment, if you see this video helpful to you and you have a leader that is insecure, please share this to him. Let him see what it looks like to be a true leader. Let your followers see that. Let your leaders also see that. I look forward to seeing you again. Don't forget, tomorrow, myself and my friends will be discussing something that's unique and what's on your mind by 8 p.m. Nigerian time and 2 p.m. Eastern time. God bless you. Look forward to seeing you again. Thank you. This comment, okay, there's a comment here. Thank you very much for this wonderful program. God bless you, sirs. Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you.